All right, our next question is from Kelvin Pham. Now, this question has a lot of meat on the bone, so we'll probably have to go into this a little deeper elsewhere. But the question is, I love all the videos on technical and skills, but what about the history of the slingshot? Why does Russia get the credit for it? He got that from Wikipedia. When and where did it start getting popular again? How did it get so big in China? And what will it take to grow this amazing hobby and sport? All right, that's a fully loaded question there, Kelvin. So let's start here. Brief history of the slingshot. This is very brief. So the slingshot as we know it today, the catapult, the cutty, all the words that we call it, utilize latex and a frame to hold it. This did not exist prior to the invention of vulcanized rubber by Charles Goodyear. And I believe that was sometime in the 1840s to 1860s. We can certainly look that up later. Prior to that, there was not a slingshot in that regard. Some folks have thrown conjecture out there that perhaps in areas that produced latex, the latex sap, that there was some variation of a slingshot, but it's highly unlikely because latex sap, without being vulcanized, is not very strong. It would not have the elasticity, the retraction that we're looking for in a modern slingshot. Why does Russia get the credit for it? Well, I believe Russia gets the credit for it because it's on that Wikipedia page. Like I said, we really don't know where it originated. Lots of theories out there, lots of countries want to claim that. I'm just happy that it happened. When and where did it start getting popular again? Now, when you say again, slingshots have seen multiple, renaissances within the past 100 years. Back in the 40s, it was quite popular, especially in California. The Whammo slingshot came out of that. Then as we move into the 70s, it got really popular again. The National Slingshot Association was born, and slingshot shooting, say that 30 times fast, slingshot shooting became a very popular league sport. Then it kind of, around 1980, 82, it just kind of disappeared again. Up until about, I'd say, 2009, 2010, things really picked back up. And from my perspective on it, it really picked up on the East Coast. And folks by the name of Jay Shott, who started the East Coast Slingshot Tournament, old-timers like Blue Skeen, Jerry Blanchard, Ken Shepard, those guys were still around. We started seeing a little bit of resurgence. People came together shooting slingshots again. But what I think really kicked it off was the advent of using TheraBand, or exercise bands, for the elastic. And now we've always had flat bands, but the material itself has been temperamental. So the amber latex sheet, pure medical latex, was always available, or not, I shouldn't say always, but was something that was certainly available in the last 30, 40, up to 50 years. But most folks were shooting gum rubber. It was a thicker rubber. It wasn't quite as efficient. TheraBand became readily available, and the big advantage with TheraBand was that it was more UV resistant. The amber latex, which is still very popular, just did not hold up. It was a very fragile material, great high performance material. But with the advent of TheraBand Gold being the gold standard, and the likes of a Jörg Sprav out of Germany, the Slingshot channel, we saw a real resurgence. And the reason being is because it became very accessible and exciting that folks could be as accurate to achieve such levels of marksmanship with a simple slingshot, whereas the generation before had been shooting wrist rockets with tubular bands, and they just generally weren't that exciting. They were tough to pull. The accuracy was okay. It was probably great at the time, but today with flat band latex and slingshots that are designed to fit low in the hand, you can achieve really high levels of marksmanship skill with relatively little experience. So there's a lot on the bone there, but let's move on to your next bit of your question. How did it get so big in China? All right, it's estimated that there's 300,000 active shooters in China. And I can validate that. I was in China last year for their national championship, and there are a lot of dedicated shooters in China. It's estimated there's over 5 million slingshots sold a year in China alone. Now, why? Well, just look at weapons laws, gun laws. Just about any type of projectile weapon is highly, highly regulated in China. Even shooting archery is a very, very regulated league sport. Slingshots are much more accessible. They're much more socially accepted. And let's face it, humans like marksmanship. Slingshots provide that thrill of intentionally placing your projectile on the target at a distance. And if you live in a country where weapons are highly regulated, but slingshots are not, and we have this innate capacity as humans to be marksmen, it just stands to reason there's going to be a lot of slingshot shooters in China because there's a whole lot of people. It's spreading around the world, and what's so great about this is it's accessible to everyone. It's very inexpensive to enjoy the hobby, and it's something that you can do quietly in your backyard or your basement with your family and friends. So how do we grow this hobby? We share it. Share the fun, share the love. If you've experienced the joy of shooting slingshots, it's infectious. You want to share it with other folks, and that's how we're going to spread the hobby. Not everyone has to be a tournament shooter. Not everyone has to be a blazing marksman. Just knocking a can around in the backyard can provide hours of enjoyment, and it's a great way to build hand-eye coordination and to build another skill that makes you just feel more human. So Kelvin, thanks for that question. I'm sure we're going to have a lot more to say on all of the things that you mentioned. Please leave your comments below. We'd love to have a chat about this, and be sure to subscribe. Thanks a lot.